Today we are talking about one of the biggest missing piece of the puzzle to solve the problem of Cardano's DeFi growth. And that is integration with Pyth Network. Now I'm going to explain what this integration is going to solve, how it is going to boost Cardano's DeFi, and what we can expect going forward. But before we talk about this, we need to get some sort of context. In December 2025, the founding and supporting entities of Cardano, that includes Cardano Foundation, that includes Input Output, Intersect, Emergo, and Midnight Foundation. They sat together, they formed Pentad. It was basically a coalition of all these entities to sit together and make a plan chart, things that were missing from Cardano's infrastructure, things that are needed to boost Cardano's DeFi, to improve institutional adoption, and to eventually improve the overall network. And they decided on 5 things that needed to be fixed. The first one was a tier 1 stablecoin that is now done with the USDCX from Circle. The second integration was to have professional analytics, which is also done through Dune. The third one was cross-chain bridges and interoperability, which is almost done. The deal has been signed with Layer 0. It's not done yet. It hasn't been integrated yet. It's signed, it's on the way. And there's one about the custody and wallets, which is still pending. And the last one was to have institutional grade oracles. And that is being done through Pyth Network. That is being integrated, that is done through Pyth Network. And it's really important for Cardano's DeFi. And once I explain the use cases that Pyth Network it enables, you will understand how important it actually is. Now, let's talk about what Pyth Network offers for Cardano and how it is going to improve Cardano's DeFi. Now, I talked about institutional grade oracles. For this, we need to understand first what oracles are. So, oracles, you might have heard about this when talking about maybe Chainlink. To understand what oracles are, you need to understand that blockchains are absolutely blind. If we talk about Cardano, Cardano as a blockchain has no idea what the current price of ADA is. So blockchains don't even know what the latest price of their very own native token is. And that is because the price of ADA, it is being decided, it is being formed by exchanges that are outside of Cardano. So ADA is being traded on multiple exchanges. Let's talk about Binance, which usually has the highest volume. The price of ADA is being decided by people buying and selling ADA on the Binance exchange. Now, Cardano in itself has no idea about the latest price. So what you need to do is you need to feed the latest price from Binance and other exchanges, aggregate it and feed it to Cardano. And that's when Cardano will know the latest price of ADA. And once it knows the latest price of ADA and other such tokens, that's how its DeFi works. I'll explain this one afterwards, but let's clarify the whole concept of oracles. So we need to understand the need for price data to move from these exchanges towards blockchains, and that's how their DeFi works. And what oracles do is basically this. Oracles have different publishers. They have different sources. That can be, if we talk about crypto, that can be centralized exchanges like Coinbase, like Binance, like Kraken. It can be trading firms, and it can also be market makers and so forth. Now, the oracles gather data from all these different exchanges and trading firms and market makers. They aggregate it to get the average price, and then they feed it to the blockchain. In this case, they feed it to Cardano. And that's how Cardano knows the latest price of the ADA token and other native assets. Now, without these oracles, DeFi is not possible. But as we understand, maybe the DeFi right now is really minimal, it's really slow, but we do have DeFi, we do have decentralized exchanges, we do have perps, we do have lending and borrowing, we do have liquidity pools. So how are they made possible if Pyth Network is only integrated now? What does Pyth Network solve? It's not like we didn't have oracles. We obviously had oracles, otherwise the current DeFi wouldn't be possible. But the problem is we were using native oracles like Charlie. And there's this thing in oracles that is called latency, which is a metric. And this tracks how much time it took for that oracle to gather data from all these different publishers, aggregate it, and then feed it to the blockchain. And this is the latency. Pyth Network and their premium version, that is the Pyth Pro, which is now being used and can be used on Cardano, it offers a latency of 0.1 seconds or 100 milliseconds. This is extremely fast. We as humans take 300 milliseconds or 0.3 seconds to blink. Their oracles, the Pyth Pro oracles, they take 0.1 seconds to gather data from all their different publishers, which by the way, they have 125 different publishers. They can gather the data from all these different publishers, aggregate it and feed it to Cardano blockchain in just 0.1 seconds. And that is really important because latest price is crucial when it comes to decentralized exchange trading, when it comes to lending and borrowing, when it comes to perpetuals, futures. Latest price is everything. And I'm going to explain this very shortly, how we are going to benefit from this now. Because like I said, we already have DeFi. So what Pyth Network and their Pyth Pro changes is, first of all, it offers this extremely fast latency. Right now, the oracles, the native oracles from Charlie and other hybrid oracles that we were using, they were taking not just seconds, but minutes to do this whole process, which is really slow, which creates its own problems. And what it does is it hinders the DeFi growth. To have advanced DeFi protocols, you need this fast latency. And I mean, obviously we didn't have it, so no builder was able to build these advanced DeFi protocols because we didn't have this 0.1 second latency. So not only that Pyth Network and their Pyth Pro oracles offer 0.1 second latency, but there's one more thing that Pyth Network offers, and that is going to change so many things for Cardano's DeFi. And that is, currently the native oracles that we were using, they were tracking price of cryptocurrencies, and that's it. So there's just one industry that is crypto, one market that is crypto, and they were tracking prices from that market. Pyth Network will allow us to not just get data from, of other cryptocurrencies, but it unlocks traditional finance. So now, through the Pyth Pro and their oracles, we will be able to track prices of not just cryptocurrencies, but we will be able to, get prices of different stocks, commodities, and in this we can have gold, oil. Moreover, we can get real estate prices. So we can have real world tokenization of real estate. So we have stocks, we have commodities, we have real estate, we have Forex, foreign exchange. So the previous oracles were only giving us information and prices of cryptocurrencies. Now, using Pyth Pro and their oracles, we can get prices of stocks, equities, commodities, real estate, Forex. And these are huge markets. So now that we understand what Pyth offers, it offers this low latency, and they have this update speed that is of 400 milliseconds, so just 0.4 seconds. That's another concept, but the basic gist is Pyth Network it offers not only data from multiple different sources and multiple different publishers, not limited to just cryptocurrencies, but also stocks, commodities, real estate, forex. So not just it has all these different sources, but it provides that data aggregated and provided to Cardano with amazing latency. And that is what Pyth Network offers. Now we're going to move forward and we're going to talk about what it solves for Cardano and what we can expect going forward. What kind of use cases will be unlocked through this. Now for this, I need to clear the board and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have written down some of the use cases, not all of them, but some of the use cases that Pyth Network and their Pyth Pro Oracles are going to solve or going to bring in Cardano. Now you will notice we already have lending and borrowing. We already have perps through the Strike protocol. We do have some examples of real-world asset tokenizations. I'm not sure about the price indices or structured products or the synthetic assets. But the thing is, we do have these protocols that already exist in Cardano. But like I said before, it's not just that Pyth Network is going to enable and is going to create more use cases and more protocols in DeFi. I mean, it's not going to create protocols, but it will allow builders to be able to build those different protocols that weren't possible to be built before these oracles. But moreover, we have basic lending and borrowing. We have basic perps. We have basic, real-world asset tokenizations in a sense that it's restricted. I'm not sure if we have price indices or structured products. We do have synthetic assets, but this is being possible through the Pyth Network now. We have this protocol called, I think it's called Indigo, that is making it possible. So they already have started using and building on this Pyth Pro. So we already have this, but they are limited because like I said before, we were using native oracles, but they were slow. So we do have lending and borrowing, but it wasn't as advanced and there were problems in it because we weren't getting the latest prices. For instance, if we talk about lending and borrowing, you have 1000 ADA tokens. You go to this lending and borrowing protocol, you use your 1000 ADA as collateral and you borrow, against it, you borrow stable coins against it that you can use in other protocols or whatever. And the protocol, after over collateralizing, will give you stable coin against it. These protocols are using smart contracts and they are getting latest, or they're trying to get the latest price of ADA. So they can track that if the price of ADA is dropping, they need to know if they need to sell in order to, reduce the debt, if they need to liquidate a position. But if they're not getting the latest price, that not only puts the protocol at risk, but it also puts the user at risk. Because if they don't know the latest prices, maybe due to a mistake, you can get liquidated based on inaccurate data. Now, because of this, it wasn't possible for these lending and borrowing protocols to be scaled. Same thing goes with perps because all these require latest prices of assets. And that wasn't possible before, but now it is. So now you will have lending and borrowing, but it will be much more advanced. We will have, if we talk about perps or we talk about decentralized exchange trading, I mean, you were trading before, but what changes now because of these oracles is you are getting latest price from all these different publishers, which is really, really accurate. And because it's really accurate and because it is really fast, the spread will be very tight. The price difference between the asking price and the bidding price, it will be very, very less. And because it will be very, very less, there will be less slippage. The trades will not only be faster, but they will be cheaper, which will make scalping and day trading really, really amazing. So it will improve the experience for all these scalpers and day traders. So in these protocols, they get more advanced. Now they are able to scale, which they couldn't do before. Now, if we move forward towards price indices, just like we have S&P 500 in stock market, which tracks the prices, the stock prices of 500 different stocks. If we want price indices in Cardano, which tracks prices of a basket of cryptocurrencies, now it's being made possible. Not only this, now we can have price indices not just for cryptocurrencies, but also for stocks. We can also have it for commodities and other assets. Now we can have structured products like leveraged tokens, like boosted products that we have in the stock market, but we don't have them in Cardano or on blockchain. I mean, we do have them on blockchains now, but not on Cardano. But now we can have them in Cardano. We can have financial products that tracks the prices of equities, that tracks the prices of commodities, but with leverage. And we can also have these boosted products in which, basically products that boost the returns people get. So it unlocks an entirely new category of, financial products that we can trade with. And then we have synthetic assets. So now that we have these oracles and we can track the latest and live prices of all the cryptocurrencies, let's say Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can create a token on Cardano that tracks the live price of Bitcoin. So its price will always be pegged to Bitcoin. It will move exactly as Bitcoin moves. And in that way, you can buy this token that tracks the price of Bitcoin without having to leave Cardano. And that are synthetic assets, or they're called I assets. So it will be iBTC on Cardano or iETH on Cardano. Now it's being made possible through these oracles. And I think they are already done. There's this Indigo protocol that is doing this. If we talk about real world asset tokenizations, which is one of the biggest categories, what do you do in real world assets? In tokenizing these real world assets is, first of all, you need accurate information about that asset that you are tokenizing. If we talk about real estate, if you are maybe, if you're taking a piece of land and you are tokenizing it on the Cardano blockchain. So what you will do is, first of all, you need accurate information about the current price of that piece of land. And of course, it doesn't stay static, it's dynamic. So the price of that real estate, the price of that property, it is going to move up and down. And based on the movement of their prices, the tokens that you are going to mint on the blockchain that tracks the price of that entire property, they will move along with it. And because of this, you need real-time data about that property, and you need to feed it to the blockchain. Just like this, if you want to tokenize any other asset, maybe you want to tokenize gold or any other commodity, you need to provide accurate data about the latest price to the blockchain, which was obviously not possible before, but now it is. And in that way, Pyth Network will allow all these protocols to not only scale, but will have new protocols that will offer much more. It will improve the overall trading experience that we get. As I explained before, we will get tighter spread, which will make trades faster, and it will make them cheaper. And it will make the overall trading, especially in the perps, because we will have safe liquidations. And do keep this in mind. This is being marketed as institutional grade oracles. So now what's happening is, these oracles, not only are they for retail, not only will they improve the experience of retail, like you and me, but they will open up an entire different category, and that is institutions. So if we have hedge funds, if we have banks and governments, or major trading firms that wants to use Cardano, that wants to build on it, or wants to do anything with Cardano, now it will be possible because they know that we now have the capability to track not only the latest and most accurate prices of all the cryptocurrencies, but also traditional finance like stocks, commodities, forex. And that will open up institutional adoption for Cardano. And that's why this is really important. So that's what the Pyth Network changes, the Pyth Pro changes for Cardano, and it will boost Cardano's DeFi. Of course, it's not going to be a direct impact, but as more protocols are built, it will obviously improve the overall liquidity on on the blockchain, overall liquidity in the DeFi. And when that happens, there will be more transactions, more volume, more ADA being used and being held, obviously because you pay gas with it. And that will improve demand for ADA and eventually its price. So that's what this, that's why this integration is really important for Cardano. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video shortly. So stay tuned.